Hello, good morning. We're live on the Trade Decorator Festival, and this morning I'm joined by Gary Simmons from Repair Care. We are going to be joining Gary in a live Q&A following our demonstration. Before I tell you what we're going to be doing this morning, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping and show you around the Crowdcast platform if you've not used it before. So feel free to comment in the comments box. You'll see that we have a 50% discount code for everybody taking part in the session. This is for training courses that are taken before the 28th of February next year, and they have to be booked by the 31st of October this year. And that code, if you want to take a note of it, it's TDF20. Now, we will be taking questions in the Q&A session. If you could refrain from typing your questions in this section, because they won't transfer when we move to the Q&A. Now, what our session's about this morning, we are going to be looking at Repair Care's 7-step approach to timber resin repair. That presentation will include making a conservation joint, doing a large repair, and making a splice repair. So I'm going to without any further delay, let's watch the presentation.
Repair Care International are a global leader in providing quality products for joinery repairs. Repair Care stands for Total Solutions for Sustainable Timber Restoration and Maintenance. In this tutorial, we'll be looking briefly at the product range, but more focused on some of our most common working methods. 1, 4 and 16 indicate curing time in hours at 20 degrees. The first part of any durable repair is to remove the paint system. This allows you to see where the damaged area is. When removing the decayed or damaged timber, particular attention has to be taken to the router cutter, and make sure you're cutting into the grain. Cutting across the grain will result in damaged fibres. When removing the rotten timber, make sure we have a minimum depth of 5 mm and we have nice sharp shoulders for the resin to sit into. Any feathered off edges may result in a failed repair. Once you've routed out, check the shoulders are nice and sharp, minimum depth of 5 mm, then remove all the dirt and fibres from around the repaired area. Open joints. Again, remove the paint system from around the damaged area and then take our router cutter, making sure that we're again cutting into the grain and we've got nice sharp shoulders. For any open joint, we want a minimum depth of 10 mm, so 10 mm wide and 10 mm deep. This is taken from 5 mm out of the sill and 5 mm out of the stile, giving you your 10 mm conservation joint. After all of the decay has been removed, moisture levels have to be checked. This is done by using the EasyQ moisture monitor. It has 2 prongs which is pushed into the timber, and this measures the moisture content. All the areas of the repair need to be checked, and a moisture content of 18% or less is required. Now all the decay has been removed, moisture levels checked. Use brick tape to protect all surfaces from epoxy. The next step is to apply our dry fix uni. But before using any epoxy product, protective gloves need to be used. Repair Care's gloves are a nitrile glove with extra long cuffs for extra protection. On the backs of the tubes are small calibration marks. This is so you get an accurate dose of both the A and B component. Agitate the A component just to make sure everything's mixed. Remove the cap. And upside down, dose out one calibration mark of the A component. Pop the cap back on, do the same with the B component, upside down and measure out one calibration mark. Using an Easy Q stirring rod, give it a quick stir just for a few seconds until it changes colour. You get a lemony colour and now it's ready to apply. Take a small brush and apply a thin coat of the dry fix to all damaged areas. Pay particular attention to any hard to reach areas. After the dry fix has been applied, let it soak in for a minimum of 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, the excess can be taken out. We are now ready to do the repairs. We have our Easy Q mixing plate and our Easy Q knives. These consist of a 3 cm buttering knife, a 5 cm mixing knife, a 10 cm knife for smaller repairs, and a 15 cm knife for larger repairs. In this instance, we're using our Dry Flex 16. This can be used up to 50 mm deep. Make sure when putting the tubes into our professional dosing gun, the A component goes into the left hand side and the B component goes into the right hand side. Gun the product out until you have the desired amount. When the desired amount is reached, replace the caps, paying particular attention to put the right caps on the right tubes. Here we have the 5 cm knife to mix the resins. A folding technique is used to push the two resins together. When the resins are fully mixed, leave as flat as possible on the mixing plate. This gives you the longest working time. With the Dry Flex 16, the working time is between 1.5 hours to 2 hours, so it's perfect for complicated repairs. Once you're happy that the mix is streak free, you can then start to apply the resin to the repairs. Taking a little bit of the resin each time, this is called our buttering in technique. This is making sure that there's really good contact between the resin and the dry fix which you applied earlier. Once the buttering in has been done, then you can start to apply the resin. Not really trying to shape it at the moment, just make sure that there's enough in there without any air inclusions. We then take our 15 cm large knife, applying pressure into the repair with a knife upstanding. Do not use the knives flat as it will drag against the resin. This is showing our modelling technique. So we upstanding blade, pressure into the repair and take out the excess. The next part is making the rebate nice and sharp. So again, pressure into the repair, take the knife out, using the timber as a template, almost ignoring the resin, just follow the lead of the timber around the bull nose of the stile into the little rebate, keeping the knife at 90 degrees, take the knife out and then straight back into the corner. Our unique stainless steel knives allow accurate modelling like this because they're the only knives on the market with right angled sides. Here we're putting the bull nose back into the sill, and now we're showing how we can put the join back in between the sill and the stile. Placing the knife in there, a small lifting technique, and it's put the line back in. And now onto the conservation joint. Here you can see our specially designed buttering in knife. This is perfect for hard to reach areas like conservation joints. Take a small amount of the resin and push it deep into the repair, making sure that there's really good contact. Then you can start to use the buttering knife to build the repair up. Again, making sure that there's pressure in there. Applying the resin a little bit at a time just to build the area up. Again, using pressure into the repair, pushing any excess up against the brick tape. Lift out any excess. Now to the side of the repair, just remove the little bit of excess epoxy resin that's on that brick tape. This time using our 10cm knife, using our knife at 90 degrees, apply pressure along the lead of the timber into the rebate. A little bit of pressure when you hit the rebate, take the pressure off, come round and then sweep back into the corner, tilt the knife slightly and lift out any excess. Now the repairs are finished, it's time to tidy up. We're using our unique EasyQ wipes. These have been specially designed to take out any epoxy resin, but also perfect for paint, oil, grease and any general grime. Once the knives and the board are clean, simply roll into the palm of the hand and dispose of the gloves. Now that the resins are fully cured, we can sand them down. This can be done with a detailed sander shown in this video, or could be even sanded by hand. Because of the modelling techniques that we used, sanding is to a minimum. All we're looking to do is to take the top layer off to give us a key for the paint or the stain that we're going to apply. Any hard to reach areas, take a little piece of sandpaper to get into any corners. Again, just taking that top layer off. Once the sanding is complete, take a little brush to get rid of any dust or fibres. Once the dust and fibres have been removed, we can apply our paint finish. Splice repairs. Follow the same working methods. Remove all damaged or decayed timber. Check moisture content. Apply the dry fix. And then go with a buttering in coat. Butter both the frame and the splice. This ensures great contact between the dry fix and the dry flex. When building resin onto the splice, put it into the middle of the bit of timber that you're going to use. By putting it into the middle of the timber, when you push the splice into the frame, the resin will squeeze out both top and bottom, ensuring that there's no air gaps. Push the splice into the repair. At this point, you don't have to be too accurate. Remove some of the excess. Once you've removed some of the excess, use one of the large knives or any flat surface to check that the splice is square. The resins have got such good adhesion, there's no need to put any shuttering underneath to hold the splice in place. Once you're happy that the splice is in and it's square, you can then begin to finish it by removing all of the excess. Once you've removed all the excess, check again that the splice is square and leave it to cure. In this next section, we're going to show you how to colour the resins. To start off with, mix the resins on your plate as normal until you achieve a streak-free finish. The resins can be coloured to any colour using an artist's pigment. In this situation, we want to try and match this old case, so a dark umber. Take the pigment and apply a very small amount. Once you've applied the pigment to the resin, mix it completely. Add a little bit of the pigment at a time. You can always put more in. Once the correct colour is achieved, leave the resin again flat on the mixing place. Applying the coloured resin uses exactly the same techniques. Start off with buttering in, then start to build the resin up. Use the modelling knife at 90 degrees, applying pressure into the repair. Take out any excess a bit at a time, then begin to shape. Always applying pressure into the repair with the knife upstanding. Here we're shaping the rebate. And finally, using the right angle of the blade, follow the timber round into the rebate, pull the knife out, back into the corner, tilt it slightly, and then pull the excess resin out. Dryflex SF. Dryflex SF is a high performance surface filler, suitable for weathered timber, cracks, nail holes and small defects. Can be used up to 6 mm deep. Extremely fast curing, is fully sandable in 30 minutes. No need to prime the timber, the SF goes straight onto bare timber. Does not shrink, does not crack, and is slump resistant. And with all of our resins, they're colour coded so that A and B components are different colours, so you can tell when they're completely mixed. In this case, we're mixing it on a standard knife, but could equally be mixed up on a board. Once the resin's completely mixed, same technique, apply a bit of resin in, make sure it's gone straight into the bottom of the holes that you're filling. But the technique for the SF is slightly different, where we use the knife flat, as opposed to when we're doing the resin repairs, the knife is at 90 degrees. This technique pushes the SF into the hole, but it rebounds slightly, giving you a proud finish. For slightly larger holes, we use a slightly different technique, whereas we wave the knife slightly. Using this technique, it makes sure the SF doesn't pull out at the back of the hole. Dry Seal MP is a putty replacement product. It's moisture and UV resistant, stays permanently elastic, excellent adhesion between glass, wood, metal and stone. It's been independently tested and is guaranteed to be compatible with hot melt butyl, PVB foils and glazing tape. Cut the nozzle to fit the rebate. This is done by holding the top of the nozzle against the sight line and the bottom of the nozzle where it runs against the rebate of the timber. Once the nozzle is cut, gun the Dry Seal MP into the rebate, trying to keep between 1 and 2 millimeters of the product in front of the nozzle. This ensures that you're pushing the product right to the back of the rebate. Dry Seal MP is paintable within 2 hours. Dry Seal MP also comes in white and in brown. It can also be used in a standard skeleton gun. Once you've gunned the product in, use the Dry Seal MP applicator, starting in the corner and then running the applicator against the sight line and against the timber. The Dry Seal MP is UV stable, so it doesn't need painting, but unlike silicons, it does paint very well. This concludes the tutorial. For more information on our product range, services and how to book onto our trained contractor course, please visit our website www.repair-care.co.uk.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us in the live Q&A. I'm joined now by Gary Simmons from Repair Care. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's great to have you on the show. First, before we start the Q&A, I just want to show people around at Crowdcast. If you're not familiar with it, you'll see we've got comments in the comments box. You can comment there. That code is there for you. If you want to do the Repair Care training course, you can get 50% off courses that are booked before the 31st of October and taken before the 28th of February next year. And that code is TDF20 if you want to make a note of that. Now, as I said, we've also got a competition running. So listen out in the session. We'll be asking a question at the end of the session that will be covered. And the first 3 correct answers will win a Repair Care training course. So if you have a question you want to put to Gary, rather than put it in the comments box, can you hit the ask a question just beneath us on the screen? That will enable us to keep track of the session. If somebody else has asked your question, you can vote on it so we know more people would like Gary to answer that question. And we'll go through the questions in there as we go along. So Gary, what percentage must the moisture content be before doing a timber repair?
Well, we're looking for an 18% moisture content or less before we do any of the resin repairs. So following our 7 steps, we get rid of all the rotten timber, we apply our dry fix, let that soak in for 20 minutes, check the moisture content is 18% or below, and then we're ready to go.
Okay. And how long should I be leaving dry fix before applying the dry flex?
Once we've applied the fix, we want to leave that to soak into the timber for a minimum of 20 minutes. After that period, we can take out any excess and then apply the resin. So 20 minutes is a minimum.
Okay. And you talked about buttering in the session when you was doing the seven-step process. What does buttering mean?
Buttering in is a technique where we apply a thin layer of our resin. It's really important when you're doing deep repairs, so you can get the resins right into the corners, making sure there's really good contact with the dry fix. So buttering in is a thin coat of our resin.
Okay, I've got a question here from Steve S. Steve, do you want to come on the screen and ask your question to Gary directly, or do you want me to put it to him? If you want to come up, if you could just click yes type yes in the comments, and I'll bring you up. No, you don't want to come on screen. No problem. I'll put your question to Gary for you. He says, can you use SF on curved surfaces like log lap or on summer houses, for example?
Yeah, I mean, the addition of the SF is great. So yes, you can use it on curved surfaces. Just bear in mind that we want to go onto bare timber with the SF. There's no dry fix put onto it. But yes, it's perfect for curved surfaces and little rebates and shapes that you've got to do. Okay.
And what are the 7 steps?
The 7 steps is, you can see part of it behind me here. First off, we want to remove all of the paint system. There's 3 reasons for that. One is so we can see where the damaged area is. Second reason is that if there's a lot of damaged timber in the corners, the timber surrounding it may have a high moisture content. So by removing the paint, you're allowing the timber to dry out naturally. The third reason is the resins will stick to anything. They will. So the resins would stick to the paint system, but if the paint system started to pull away from the timber, it's a potential weak point for the repair. Once we've got rid of all of the paint system, we use a mini Profi. It's a grown-up dentist drill. It's a high-speed router cutter to get rid of all of the decayed timber. Once we've removed the decayed timber, we'll check our moisture content is 18% or below. After that, we apply our dry fix, which we let soak in for 20 minutes. Then we go within our buttering in coat. Then we apply and shape the resin. Step 6 is we sand it to give ourselves a key for the paint or the stain that we're going to put on there. And then finally, step 7 is apply the paint finish.
Okay.
7 steps.
That all makes sense. I've got a few more questions here. If any of you would actually like to come up and ask your question directly to Gary, if you want to just type in the comments box that you'd like to come up, and you can put your question to him directly on the screen. Otherwise, I'll just read through them as we sort of go along. So I've got a question here from Rob Hardy, and he's saying, is the artist pigment used for colouring an acrylic artist paint?
It's an oil-based pigment. It is. You can pick it up from sort of any artist shop, and you can colour it down to all sorts. This is a dark or burnt umber that we'll use for if you're putting onto a teak or anything like that. But you can also colour it. This is a brick repair. You probably can't see it. You can just see in the corner there. So yes, it's an oil-based pigment that we use.
Okay. Nick is asking, what are the benefits of attending the training course?
There's several reasons for attending the training courses. One, we give you a lot of knowledge about how to do repairs cost effectively. We show you how to do repairs nice and quickly. But I think one of the biggest benefits, if you become one of our trained contractors, you come onto our website, you can interact with the website, you can put your own case studies and projects on there, but you can also apply for a 10-year guarantee on all of the repairs that you do. So there's a simple little form to fill in. One of our technical managers will come out onto site, have a look at the work that you're doing, sign the guarantee off, and then we back the repairs that you've done, and we guarantee it for 10 years, which gives you a massive advantage over people that are using 2-pack fillers.
Oh, definitely. It's well worth doing just so that you can guarantee the work that you're doing in that way, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the other thing is, well, if you're working for a lot of housing associations or the National Trust, they insist on using trained approved contractors. So you'd need to go onto the training course for that as well.
All right. And what are the minimum and maximum depths for the resins, Gary?
The minimum depth for all of our resins, apart from the SF, is 5 mm. And then we've got various different products that go up to a maximum of 50 mm. The Dryflex 16 goes up to 50 mm, the Dryflex 4 goes up to 20 mm, and the Flex 1 goes up to 10 mm.
Okay. And what would you say is the best way to remove the rotten timber?
The best way for removing the rotten timber is using our mini Profi, which you saw in the video. It's a high-speed router cutter. It doesn't damage the timber fibers because the blade's spinning so quickly. Even if you manage to touch the glass with it, it won't break the glass. You'll put a little etch mark into it, and it's a much more delicate operation than trying to take it out with a hammer or a chisel. Some people will look at multi-tools like the Festool multi-tool. The trouble with that is because it's a sharp blade, it'll go in at a 45-degree angle, and then that at the bottom isn't giving our 5 mm gap. So the best thing to use is the Profi.
Okay. And does the timber have to be completely dry before doing the repair?
It's not completely dry, but we go back to our moisture content. So as soon as we've got rid of all the rot, we want to check that moisture content is 18% or below. So that's what we're looking for.
And what's the advantage of using your resins rather than using a 2-pack filler? Why should I use your resin?
The trouble with 2-pack fillers, a lot of the time they're brittle. So you've got your timber repair, you put a fix into it, the timber's constantly expanding and contracting. And if the repair product doesn't move with that paint line will fail, moisture gets in around the back of it, and your repair will fail. With our products, our resins, I hope you can see this, our resins are flexible, so they move with the timber. Unlike a polyester filler, it's just too brittle, so it won't move with the timber.
Okay. And what's the main cause of timber repair? Of wood rot. What's the main?
A lot of timber repairs are caused by open joints, where you'll have a joint between the sill and the stile. That because the timber's moving in different directions, that joint quite often opens up, and then you've got the capillary reaction of the timber, which will draw moisture into it. And unless you deal with that, it starts to break the timber down. So a lot of it is moisture ingress.
Okay. And I've got a question from Craig Allen. He's asking what the drying time is for the resin.
The drying times vary. Our 3 main products are our Flex 1, 4 and 16. And the 1, 4 and 16 indicate curing times at 20 degrees. They do. So those are the curing times. So I mean, the SF is our fine surface filler, and that cures in half an hour. So 1, 4 and 16 is the answer.
Okay. And what is a conservation joint?
A conservation joint is exactly what we were talking about. You saw it in the video where you've got a joint between the sill and the stile. So yeah, we call that conservation joint. That's where most or a lot of problems occur. So we'll open that up to 10 mm wide, 10 mm deep, taking 5 mm out of the stile and 5 mm out of the sill. And then we just apply a little bit of resin. It's a really quick repair to do. So you can use it as a curative measure if the joint's open by 0.2 of a millimetre or more, or you can use it as a preventative measure. So when you're doing other repairs and doing some putty replacement, you can open that joint up to stop problems occurring in the future.
Okay. I've got a question here from Gary Nelson, and he's asking, is there a minimum working temperature?
The 1 hour and the 4 hour, you can use that down to 0. The 16-hour cure, the Flex 16, you can only use that 10 degrees and above. But another product in our range is our Flex Cool, and you can use that product down to 0 degrees, but it's our fastest curing resin in temperatures below 10 degrees. So minimum for any of our resins is 0 degrees.
Okay. And what do the numbers on each of the tubes, what do they represent?
Yeah, the numbers on the tubes indicate curing times at 20 degrees. So the 1 hour cures in 1 hour at 20 degrees, the 4 in 4 hours,
Oh,
and
I
16
see.
in 16 hours.
That makes sense, makes it nice and simple.
It does, yeah.
Okay. So how soon can I paint the dry seal?
Dry seal is paintable in 2 hours. What it does, it takes moisture out of the air, so it cures, but the top layer will start to cure first. So it's paintable in 2 hours, and it's probably getting close to fully cured in 24 hours. So yeah, paintable in 2 hours.
Okay, and you've got quite a wide range of products. So how do I know which one I should choose, which resin to use on a job?
There's a few things that you need to look at. Is one, the size of the repair, the external temperature. So for instance, if I've got a small repair to do, I've got 2 little conservation joints to do, I'd probably use the 1 hour for that. But if I've got lots of complex, deep repairs to use, I'd use the 16 hour, because once you've mixed the 16 hour up, you've got 1.5 hours to 2 hours working time with it. So you've got loads of time to do any complex repairs. So it's temperature dependent and the size of the repairs, really.
Okay, and do I need to prime before using your Superfinish?
No, the Superfinish goes on to bare timber, unlike the Flex products where you've got to put a universal wood stabilizer in there. The SF goes directly onto bare timber.
Okay, and are all epoxy resins the same?
They're not. No, the repair care products is the only clean epoxy on the market. And by clean epoxy, we mean that there's no additives in it. So there's no chalk or glass beads. It's just a pure clean epoxy, which means ours won't shrink or slump. It's also very elastic. So it's so they're not all the same. No, as is the only clean epoxy on the market.
Okay, and how long do resins last?
Well, I mean, we guarantee the product for 10 years. In reality, they last a lot longer than that. Repair Care celebrated 30 years, and we've still got test pieces that are 30 years old, but we guarantee the resins for 10 years. And if you become one of our trained contractors, as I said earlier on, you can guarantee the repairs for 10 years as well.
Okay, you've mentioned your training. Is special training required to use your products?
Anybody can use the products, but the benefits are massive from becoming a trained contractor in terms of, we'll show you how to use the products cost effectively, so you're not wasting much of the product, but also being a trained contractor, as I said earlier on, you benefit from all the benefits of that, becoming a trained contractor and 10-year guarantee and be able to work for the National Trust and people like that.
Okay, I've got a question here from Rob Hardy, and he's asking, with a splice repair, do you have to apply dry fix first and maintain a bridging gap of resin between the timbers?
Yeah, he's absolutely correct. Yeah, so with the splice, we'd apply the dry fix, again, let it soak in for 20 minutes, and then going back to the minimum depth, we've got a minimum depth between the 2 timbers of 5 millimeters. So the splice would be surrounded by 5 millimeters of our resin.
Okay, I've got a question here from Sam Bates, and he's asking, what if you've just finished the repair and it starts raining? Will the repair be okay?
I mean, best practice would be to try and shield the repair if possible. In reality, though, that doesn't always happen. So what will happen is the rain will hit the resin, and the amine layer will come to the top of it. So you'll get a white, milky residue onto the top of it, but that'll sand down once it's fully cured anyway.
Okay, and can you screw or nail the products?
Yeah, so once the resin's fully cured, treat it like timber. So you can screw into it, nail it, route it, chisel it. But best practice when you're doing that sort of thing, so if you're going to put a nail in there, I'll put a pilot hole into it first as well. So, but yeah, once it's cured, treat it like timber.
Oh, that's useful. So you don't have to avoid it then.
No, no, not at all. I mean, you can hang kitchen doors off it. If somebody's broken a kitchen door and it's an MDF, you can rebuild that sprung hinge with it. So yeah, it's treated like timber once it's cured.
Okay, and can you use Superfinish onto the dry flex?
You can, yes. I mean, so what people will do if they've not got a perfect repair finish, which they will do if they come on the training course, but if they haven't got that perfect finish, you can put a little bit of the SF directly on top of the dry flex.
Okay. Does anybody else have any further questions for Gary before we come to the end of our session? I think I've come to the end of everybody's questions so far. If you want to type anything else in, what I'm going to do is move on to our competition question. So we have covered this in the session, and we'll take the first 3 correct answers that appear on the screen. Okay. The question is, what percentage must the moisture content be or below before repairing timber?
Wow.
Okay, we've got 3. Our fastest fingers to the button were Gary Nelson, Craig Allen, and Rob Hardy. All 3 of you have won yourselves a timber repair care training session. So Gary, I'll get their details to you. Guys, if you can pop me an email, I'll type my email address in here for you, just with your telephone number and contact details. So telephone number, email, I'll have your email address, and I'll get those over to Gary and we'll get those courses sorted for you. So it's my email address is paula@phoenix-media-solutions.co.uk, which is why I've typed it out, because it's not the easiest one to remember. So I think, we do have one more question. Somebody's typed it in the questions. Okay, not to worry. We've got our fastest winners there. Right, so Gary, is there anything further you'd like to tell us about repair care before we end the session?
No, you can find lists of all our products and services. So we do an inspection service, so we can come out and do an inspection on your property. So we'll tell you exactly how many conservation joints, how many resin repairs you need to do, how many meters of putty we do. So that's one of the services that we offer. If you've got any projects that you'd like one of the area managers to come out and have a look and give you some guidance, we're more than happy to do that. So yeah, just have a look at the website. You can find details on the products and services that we do there. The other thing, I'm feeling a little bit sorry for Gareth in 4th place. So if we can get Gareth's details, we'll send him one of our brand new repair care hoodies.
Oh, fantastic. There you go, Gareth. If you want to drop me an email as well, and we'll get you a hoodie out to you as well. Thanks for that, Gary. That's really generous.
That's okay.
Thanks for the session. I've really enjoyed you joining us.
Brilliant. Thanks, everybody, for your attention, and hope to see you all soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Take care. Bye.